Some memories don't fade. Sometimes you miss the old days, but nothing changed unless you change what's around you. How you think, how you live, how you speak, how you walk, how you blink, how you talk, how you teach, how you reach. Let it sink. What's your purpose? What's your passion? Through the pain. What's your plane? Is it plane? On a plane? Hydroplane? On the plane? What's your purpose? What's your passion? Through the pain.
All right. We are here. You are plugged in with Molly and Joe, the mental warriors, and Molly, the voice of the show. And that is the words of the show. My main man, Joe, put it together. You get it. You get an amazing show, man. What's going on, Joe?
Everything is groovy, brother. We had quite an eventful past couple of days off the scenes, so we just bringing it all back in full circle, if you will. So, it's been a great week, and we here. We got words and voice just making things happen as always.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of ideas, a lot of plans coming up. We got a lot of future plans. I mean, we talking studios. Went into the studio yesterday with the Evening Rush Network. Checked out what they was doing and whatnot, and I like that vibe, man. What you thought about that vibe?
I thought it was great, man. It added something to it because we've been doing all these shows remote, you know what I mean? So being in person added a different energy to it. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait till we start getting to the studio and be in person. Like, the energy is going to be bananas.
Yeah. So what I saw about this week. Oh, also something happened this week, and me and Joe shared in one thing after another, right, Joe? We seen each other like what, 3 times this week?
Three times this week. It's like, you here too. All right.
That's that family vibe, man. That's that family vibe. I welcome you with open arms. You already know that. But a lot of people hear us speculate and hear us speak on it. But yeah, Joe basically family. You know what I'm saying? We was at my cousin's wedding this past Saturday. Shout out to Mish. Sean know Mish. Shout out to Mish. Shout out to Mish. We married now. Another Matthias man married. That's actually a good thing. I mean, when you talk about generational curses and such, it wasn't many men in my family that I knew of was getting married straight up. And, it feels good to have, my family be, one of those who's constantly changing that narrative as we go along, and everyone is happily married, good evening, Queens of New York City podcast.
What up, Queens?
Yes. Salute to you guys. But yeah, it was beautiful to witness that. You know what I mean, Joe?
Yes, it was. Marriage is a sacred constitution and institution, if you will. And what I think about it is that, we need to show more examples of it, especially in our community, So it was great to see that. And it was such a beautiful event and affair. So
had a little brief interview yesterday with the Evening Rush Network. Shout out Sean Dawn and Rainbow. For allowing us to get a little taste of what what the interview process is and whatnot. We usually doing the interviews these days, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, I never been interviewed per se, and it was kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right, I can do this.
Listen, I was a little nervous yesterday. I said, okay, we on the other side of the coin. I didn't know where we were coming from.
Right. But, we come from the same place, from the heart. You know what I'm saying? We always do. We always come from a different, level of thinking. I think, we dropped in the brief time we was there, we dropped a couple of jewels, you know what I'm saying? That, you know what I mean? And then Sean Dawn gave us a few good encouraging words. We do appreciate those words and, and the encouragement on what we're doing, to know that, we might be doing, something different, might be making a little bit of a change,
Absolutely. Like I said, we continue in the legacy, whether you like it or not. We coming. So just, we coming, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. What was the record? What was the label yesterday we was talking about? It was what? Sean, shoot that label at us, Sean, so we could give him a shout out, man. I forget the label, man.
Industry 21 magazine.
Industry 21. Shout out to Industry 21.
Yes.
They gave us a little photo shot, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, we might be in a little magazine or something. Who knows? You know what I mean? that ain't what we here for. We here just to, unplug your mind, plug something, else worthy in there. And one thing, let's congratulate Giannis.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah. Sean ain't gonna give no bombs for that. I'm telling y'all now. Sean is not giving no bombs for that. He's a hater. He's a hater in the 5th degree. You notice he give bombs for most things, right? I did notice that, right? You noticed that, right, Joe?
Of course, but
okay.
I get it. Indiana is a division rival for
No. He ain't an Indiana fan. He a Nets fan.
I know, but like I'm saying, when you have a rival winning a championship.
Oh, you hear the bomb now? What the hell? Now you hear the bomb? Oh, come on.
Dropping them bombs, man.
Now you want to drop the bomb on us, bro. Come on. You is funny. You was a character, brother. You was a character.
I feel the same way about a rival too. Like if it's another team rival that's winning, I'm like, you know what? Forget all that. I ain't rooting for them, so I get it. I'm being a hater all the way.
Yeah. So that's our introductory banter. That's what we talk about. We just shoot it around or whatever. But yo, one thing that Giannis did say, I'm gonna spend a minute on this, maybe or whatever, or two. That I like, and it's something that I always was like, yo, I don't like the super team. I don't like what LeBron began to do, became a mercenary for the ring and all that. I actually like the old school way of, I was drafted by this squad and I'm going to die with this squad unless they catch a brain fart and get rid of me. You know what I mean? Brooklyn, the super team. You know what I'm saying? All that is whack to me. You know what I mean? Giannis hit them all on the head. He said, listen, I did it the hard way. I could have went to a super team, did my part, win a chip easy, but I didn't. What you think?
Giannis told a great story. I mean, you don't see a lot of that anymore in the NBA. And if you do, you see a lot of cats that are struggling. Like, look at Dame Lillard. He's another one in Portland that has the same story. They're going to stick to their squads. Mm-hmm. But everything is so enticing to them when you see all the other players moving around and what can be done. So Giannis is one of those guys that just said, no, I'm going to stick with my team and I'm going to win a championship. 8-9 years later, here we are. You know what I mean? So, and Giannis in the Bucks.
Yeah, congrats. And then think about it. 8 years ago, his moms was selling DVDs just so they could keep the lights on in their house. You know what I'm saying? So imagine 8 years later, you in the three, you 200 and change $1 million. You know what I mean? Millionaire. Like, come on, man. I love the story, man. You know what I mean? Him and his brothers sharing sneakers just to play ball and all that other stuff. I like that kind of story, man. I like the underdog story. I don't know. That's me.
For sure. Same here. It tells a good story and it gives a good message to those who feel like underdogs that they can achieve.
Not like them front running Brooklyn Nets. You know what I'm saying?
Super team, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Oh, wow. He got violent. Whoa. Hey, Dred. You okay, Dred? Him shooting, taking shots at us, man. You don't see him, Dred, taking shots at us, man. What's up with you, man? Oh, man. But we on all platforms. We on all the platforms that you could think of. We on YouTube. We on Facebook. We on Instagram. We on Anchor.fm. We on Spotify. We on iHeartRadio, we on Mixcloud, we on Google Podcasts, we on iTunes Podcasts, we on the Evening Rush Network, of course. We on Plug with Molly and Joe on Facebook. We on Instagram, that's Plugged MJ. We on Deja Vu TV. You could call in to us at 929-441-2417. That is 929-441-2417. Give us a shout out, man. Let us know if we're doing good. Let us know if we're messing up, how that goes, right?
Add some voices and words for the voice and the words, okay?
Yeah.
We want to hear.
Yeah, we good. So, you know what we do next. Everybody should know. Everybody, we're going to have a little production with that too. I'm like, look, paying homage. Like, you know what I'm saying? But what we're going to do is this paying homage section as we do. And Joe, who do you have this week?
Well, this guy right here is been considered to be one of the greatest Afrocentric scholars of all time. This is Yosef Ben Jochannan, also known by many as Dr. Ben.
Dr. Ben.
Yeah.
Go.
Dr. Ben was an American writer and a historian. He was considered to be one of the more prominent Afrocentric scholars by some Black nationalists, while mainstream scholars dismissed him because of the basic historical inaccuracies in his work, as well as disputes about the authenticity of his educational degrees and academic credentials. Well, that may be true on some aspects, but I'll tell you, in the Black community, he is revered. Like when you think of Pan-Africanist over the last century, you look at him. He's written so many books, and not just from a modern day Afro Pan-Africanist person. He's talking about the Ethiopian Jews, and he's talking about the history of the African diaspora. So a lot of his early works is where I got a lot of my information from. And he was just so revered. I mean, you had NBA players paying for his funeral when he died. That's how Scott. I remember the story of David West, who was on the Pacers at the time. He paid for his funeral. So you wouldn't necessarily hear that coming from a scholar and a teacher, but he was like the premier master teacher. So
wow,
kudos to Dr. Ben, and we hope that we do it with him.
Yeah, we I believe we're fortunate to be raised in, I would say, the golden era of teachers and scholars and the such. Because I think you know the guys from way back that paved the way had set such a foundation that there was a lot more, there's a lot more scholars and people of like minds just popping out of nowhere. You understand what I'm saying? And I think we're very fortunate. That's the reason why we have a show like this that was never thought of, I would say 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, like, honestly, like, you really think about it. You understand what I'm saying? And listen, our age dictate that's within our lifetime.
Right. We've seen a lot of it. Like, we saw the book, and a lot of it was, how you reach the masses through lectures and books and things of that nature. So that's what we had to learn our history from if we weren't learning at home.
And it lines up with our topic for the day. You know what I mean? Them chickens, you know what I'm saying? But
roosting chicken.
Them chickens coming home, you know what I'm saying? So, and I think both of us are examples of such things. You know what I mean? To be honest with you. You know what I mean? And Sean and people like Sean Don. You know what I mean? Sean Don. Like, at the end of the day, he's an entrepreneur. He owns his own network. He owns his own platform for a Black man such as myself and yourself to be able to speak our minds. Come on now. They didn't want that to happen. You know what I mean? Something happened. Yes. Something happened. But no, I got it. Trust me, I got this. Because I'm not going to dwell on this next topic I'm not going to dwell on who I'm paying homage to too long, because it's no picture of him, because he's that kind of dude. You know what I mean? Trust me, he doesn't have many pictures, if he does have pictures. But it's my uncle, and his name is Chief Eleazar. You know what I mean? And I want to pay homage to him. He was our Dr. Sebi in a sense. You understand what I'm saying? This is a man that sat there and proclaimed that he cured his own cancer. You know what I mean? He was also a man that said, and I don't know if he did it or not, but he said he could cure AIDS. You know what I mean? That kind of doctor, whereas he got all the herbs, he did all of the lessons and all of that. And he did it on his own, immigrant from Panama. You understand what I'm saying? With not much to his name, but he found the Israelite way of life. You understand what I'm saying? And my father was one of his good friends, and actually became family through marriage. I just wanted to give him a shout out because he taught me everything I know about healthy eating and healthy living. Anything I know about vitamins, anything I know about sleep deprivation, whatever it is about health, I actually probably learned from this man. You know what I mean? And he's taught so many people. I think he was a man before his time, as they would say. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like, before his time. Like, if he had, if we had the social media, that we have now, where he could get that word out to the people, come on, they paying top dollar for this information.
That's what it is. Like, You think about how many people he impacted without social media. Now we have the ability to reach the world. Back then, you might not have had that same opportunity within the time, but you could reach the world in an hour, you know? So everybody can know what you're doing. So to have that type of connection nowadays and to use it correctly, that's the key.
Right. And he's still going. He's still out there making his herbs, making his mixes, you know what I mean? Diagnosing what he diagnoses, you know what I mean? You know, because some people, what they do, they'll go to the doctor, figure out what's wrong with them or what have you, like, what do you think is going on with me or whatever, and then they'll go to him and tell him what's up, and then he'll have some type of herb or something for it, you know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, he was a little extreme at times, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I think a lot of us is better off for it because, you know, now we know we can do it. We know we can eat healthy. We know we can, you know, stay away from certain foods and such. But shout out to my Uncle Chief Eleazar. All right, Sean, let me talk to me on the side. Talk to me on the side. He's definitely available, bro. Trust me, he's available. All right, and then we move right along, right? It's just like a well-oiled machine. Pass the ball, dribble a little bit, shoot. You know what I'm saying? Pass it along. You know what I mean? Brooklyn Nets can't do that. They ain't do that. They ain't do that well. Brooklyn Nets ain't.
It's gonna be one of those days, producer. It's gonna be one of those days.
Oh, he shot me again. He shot me again. Oh man, the violence, man. Black on black violence is produced by black men. Stop it. All right. Current events. Here we go.
Well, here's an interesting one. We'll start off with this one. Many colleges and universities around the United States are mandating the vaccination in order for students to return to school. The most recent one being the University of Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. This happened about a week ago. And they made the decree, if you're not vaccinated, you're not coming on campus to continue your education. And I mean, well, you look at it this way. You know, colleges and universities are a form of big business, money. Right. You know, so you got to have people on campuses in order to do business. So, you know, it's crazy, but I get it. And I totally understand as well. But people who are truly against the vaccination, they're going to have to make some serious choices. And I think we're starting to see that with a lot of people who are going to like be forced to do this vaccination. And they're going to say, well, either you want to live or you don't, or you want to be amongst the people or you don't. So people are going to, it's happening all over society. When you go to corporate world, when you go to places of interest, they're saying that you have to be vaccinated in order to enjoy the facilities or to enjoy the space. Right. New York City, they've already started getting people back into the offices, but there's no guarantee that everybody is vaccinated yet. Well, so it's one of those things where, you know, your parent will force you to do something without forcing you. All right, let's see how you enjoy it. You're going to be the only one out there doing nothing. Let's see.
Well, personally, I've had to see that within my own household, because as my wife put up there, she felt violated. Sure, I felt violated for her that in order for her to continue her education further, she'd had to get vaccinated. And even if she wanted to go away on a trip or what have you, like she planned on going on a cruise later on this year, and she has to get vaccinated. Said a hospital in Jersey fired 6 supervisors and managers. I'm aware of that as well. I've seen the article on that as well. My thing is, the mandating it. I knew that's where they were going to go with it. Do I agree with it? Do I get it? No, I'm not with y'all on that. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't, you know,
it's to prove that the vaccination works. You know, they got to mandate it by getting more people vaccinated to prove that it works. But what's interesting about it is that our next current event goes into what we're talking about right now. People are worrying about the mandation of vaccination when it covers one part of the COVID-19, right? So now you have this COVID Delta strain.
Right. So before we go there, so now you look at the mandate, but now also we're gonna speak on it later. But yeah, the flip side to it is the fact that, you know what I mean, this is some form of separatism as well. You know what I mean? We're gonna speak to that later. But now, like you said, the COVID Delta strain, speak on it.
Well, it's supposed to be 3 times as powerful as COVID-19 as it is, and it's where we were last February. It's hitting people now and worse than it was with COVID-19. People who are vaccinated are getting the COVID Delta strain. I have doctor friends who are telling me that people are coming in with it. The thing is, they're saying that if they're vaccinated, they're not getting the side effects that they would before. But then there are some people who are unvaccinated are getting it just as bad or worse than what COVID-19, the original strain, did to them a couple of 17 months ago.
Okay. It says after months of it says here, right? It says after months of data collection, scientists agree the Delta variant is the most contagious version of the coronavirus worldwide. It spreads about 2 to 3 times faster than the original version of the virus, and it's currently dominating the outbreak in the United States, responsible for more than 80% of COVID cases. A new study published online this month sheds light on why. It finds that the variant grows more rapidly inside people's respiratory tracts and to much higher levels, researchers say. On average, people infected with the Delta variant had about 1,000 times more copies of the virus in their respiratory tracts than those infected with the original strain of the coronavirus. In addition, after someone catches the Delta variant, the person likely becomes infectious sooner. On average, it took about 4 days for the Delta variant to reach detectable levels inside a person, compared with 6 days for the original coronavirus variant. And someone wrote, but what's going on with the death totals and the such? And that's exactly where I'm at with it, because it's like, why is that not something that's being spoken about as well? You know what I mean? Like, this is supposed to be some crazy variation, and we're not talking about shutting nothing down this time. But I mean, I guess I get that because, like I said, it's all about the money, right?
Well, the government doesn't want to spread panic. We just got back to where we were, and we still got a long ways to go. Another pandemic would definitely would make things worse than what they were before. So you don't want to spread panic by that. So this is the way that it should have been done with the former presidency. It should have been done this way. I mean, I have no problem with the way that they're doing it. Don't cause the panic if you have it under control or if you understand the semantics behind it. I get that, but you want to keep people calm. You don't want to get them in a rush. But when you're not doing anything about it, that's what happened 17 months ago when nobody even cared about it. But now you have an administration who cares and is doing things the way that it's supposed to be done. So we shouldn't have to go into panic. We shouldn't have to go into worry because of it. We should continue our everyday lives and find a way to make it right.
And I don't. And, I mean, we live in a world where there's so many bacterias and viruses and deadly things that can get us. Some called a gun with another person's hand behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many things that could take us out of here to sit here and be worried about something. I mean, that, naturally we just say is in God's hands, right? Like, it's a situation where, if it's supposed to happen, I guess it will, I mean, just not be negligent, and let's be safe, try to be a little cleaner, try to be a little more considerate, keep your space, try to keep a circle small. That's another thing is teaching us. What you think? Keep your circle small. You won't have to worry about these things.
Absolutely. But here's the funny thing. Interesting thing is we should have been doing this long before the pandemic.
Right.
This is the way to live. The fact that we were walking around here with our pants down, so to speak, and then it just closed. We were supposed to be doing this for longer. This is part of health etiquette, if you will. Right. But the fact that we weren't doing it, it said, okay, I got to teach y'all the hard way. And that's what happened.
And maybe that's exactly what it is a lesson learned, right? Because I'm asking this question to you. How is blaming unvaccinated Americans for the surge in infections a form of systemic separatism? Is this the new racism? Because I came up with this question because I was thinking like this, right? Because racism is something that you can't get behind anymore, right? You can't do the whole, okay, black, white, this, and the third. That's not winning for them anymore, right? Because, you're doing all these hateful things and the good people are crossing over to our side, so to say, right?
Right.
Okay. So this system cannot thrive without a 50-50. They need a 50-50 in order to thrive. There's no way they could thrive without. So they can't have us in avalanches over them down the line. Because remember, as much as you say he got 70-something million or whatever, the homie got like 80 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? A lot of people came out to make sure that, you know, we're done with that. We're done with how you guys doing it. So my thing is this the new racism? Whereas now you're sitting there, you know, forming things where people are going to make decisions based on their morals, based on who they are, you know, because, you know, there's a lot of black folk that don't trust this country with good reason. You know what I mean? So therefore, it's probably most of us that's not getting vaccinated. You know what I mean? So is this another way to where we divide one another? Because if you look at it, it says, okay, well, you can't do this unless you get the vaccine, you know, the vaccine. You know what I mean? And then there's those that's for and those that's against. So now you got your divide again, no?
Well, look at it this way. I mean, isn't this how the formulation of racism and classism begins? Look at the story of X-Men, mutants against humans. You could pretty much relate that to blacks versus whites, or anybody who's racist against a different culture.
Right.
They said the vaccinated and the non-vaccinated is going to become a emphasis of that. If you give it a little bit of time, it will, because what's eventually is going to happen is you're going to have, like you said, it's a separation. You're going to have those for those who are vaccinated and those who are not. And people that are vaccinated are going to look at the ones and say, "Oh, well, why aren't you doing it? You whatever the case may be." And they use that as an example to hate on a group of people that aren't there. And that is a formulated. I'm hoping it doesn't get to that point, but the seeds have been planted for it, if you will. Right. And this continues, because what's going to happen is one group is going to blame the other.
Exactly. Now you get where I'm going with it. You know what I mean? Like I said, we got to open people's minds, bro. You feel what I'm saying? Like people think these things don't matter. All of these things matter. You understand what I'm saying? Every decision that these people make and every fight that they put out there, because remember, these are things that's put out there. These are things that's man-made. Trust me, they do all of these experiments to see how we would react if we were exposed to this disease that they made.
Absolutely. And we're the guinea pigs, you know? Mm-hmm. One way or another. Either we're going to survive unvaccinated or we're going to survive vaccinated. That's how it pick our poison. What do we want to do?
Right. So now going from one virus to another virus to another problem that we just figured out just this week in this current event section of Plug with Molly and Joe. Monkeypox.
Monkeypox. Like I want to know who decided to call it monkeypox. I need to know
monkeypox, bro. Monkeypox.
I need to know where that name came from. It's unfortunate that there's an African person, a kid on that poster, but I want to see other races of people with that disease. You know, why is it called monkeypox? We understand that it comes from Western Africa. Like it's a viral disease that occurs mostly in Central and Western Africa. It's called monkeypox because it was first identified in laboratory monkeys.
Now you see what I'm saying? See where I went with it?
Yeah.
Someone made it. So, and then you're going to call it monkeypox, and then it happens in Africa. Like, who thought of this? Like, who came up with this comedy for such a serious situation? But yeah, John, man, like, yeah, man, it's crazy. It's not I mean, what's going on is inhumane. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the problems that's coming about is self-inflicted by humanity's own greed and you know, stuff like that, man. I mean, it's getting real sad. You know what I mean, just to see little man up there, like, come on, what is that? Like monkeypox. You made it.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then they throw it in Africa because why was it created in Africa? Like, what was the reason why it was experimented there? Like, why couldn't it have been experimented here? But like you said, it was a man-made disease, so we don't understand it. There's subliminal messaging behind it, of course.
Right. And then, of course, it seems very racist, right? And then, just to let everybody know, the reason why it's actually important is because it was noted that about 200 people was noted and in the U.S. with monkeypox. So that's the reason why it was important to bring it up, to make sure that you're aware that you know, these kind of things is real, and we don't want to get caught sleeping, right?
An outbreak can happen just like that. All it takes is a couple of hundred people, and that's what they're trying to say. Like, so be careful. Be on your P's and Q's.
I'm just going to drop something real quick, a little quick shout out, like, you know, not really a shout out, but people look up NBC BLK, that's NBC BLK, that's NBC Black, and Fox Soul. You know, I consider them reputable sources of information for Black people. Joe finds one to be good and don't trust the other. We'll talk about that another time, but we'll bring it back because I want people to check that out, man, because it's all Black news. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that's very important for us to check out. You know what I mean? But with that being said, you know, let's do what we normally do around this time. Throw it to the Evening Rush Network, our network. They got a word for us.
Looking to podcast shows and do not know where to start? The Evening Rush Network can help you with that. Call us at 929-441-2417 or email us at theeveningrushnetwork@gmail.com for dates and prices. We got you for all your podcast needs. The Evening Rush Network. Tune in, subscribe, and share.
I remember the platforms we on. A few of them is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor.fm, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Mixcloud, Google Podcasts, iTunes Podcast, the Evening Rush Network, Deja Vu TV, and of course, we are sponsored by none other than Baller. Big App Leadership Academy for the Art. That's one of my favorite things to do in life is try to get that place going, man. Trust me, it's a journey, it's a job. It's a task, but it's everything I wanted in life, and I didn't even know it, and I'm blessed to be a part of it. You know, we on Instagram, plugged MJ, and that just means Molly and Joe. It can also mean my son, but you know, we play with that. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, that we're gonna go into our next top. We're gonna go into our next, you know, our topic of the day. What you think? Should we go into topic of the day? Roosting chickens. That means, you know, the chickens coming home to roost, that kind of thing that they be talking about. When systemic oppression backfires. It's a lot more times than what we're going to bring about today. I think we're going to we're going to come back with this topic again. I like this topic because, you know, I don't think we got a chance to get, you know, real knee deep into it, but I think we're going to do a good job here today. Can I get that clip, please?
The hypocrisy of the white man.
On November 22nd, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. For the nation, the day after the assassination, Malcolm X made a remark that shocked both his followers and his enemies.
When you send your chickens out in the morning from your barnyard, those chickens will return that evening to your barnyard, not your neighbor's barnyard. I think this is a prime example of the devil's chickens coming back home to roost.
The public was enraged by his apparent irreverence. In his book, Malcolm insists he was misunderstood.
You were involved in a controversy some months ago with your leader. Is that over?
Well, I've been silent for the past 90 days because of some statements I made concerning the President of the United States, which were distorted.
They were distorted.
And yes.
What did you say, Malcolm?
Well, I said the same thing that everybody says, that his assassination was the result of the climate of hate. Only I said the chickens came home to roost, and which means the same thing. Climate of hate means that this is the result of something. And when I said chickens coming home to roost, I said the same thing.
But you did not say that you were glad the president was killed.
No, that's what the press said.
See how they switch your words? See how they switch your words upon you? The press tried to make it seem like he hated Kennedy, but that wasn't the case. The case was he was saying that what you do in this world eventually comes back to you.
Right.
And I think of the chickens.
Exactly. And you know, big shout out to the legacy and to the work of Malcolm X, the great Malcolm X. Can I get a clap on that one, Sean? Can I get a clap on that one? I'm gonna wait for that one. Yeah, there we go. Malcolm X, one of the greatest minds ever to grace our ears when it comes down to this game called striving for social justice for our people. Sure. So it goes into our topic, and modern day examples of the chickens coming home to roost, right? So we speak on, like you say, we see the hate that they put out there comes back. So Joe, give me one example.
I can do that. I can think of one right now that's kind of plaguing this country, if you will. It's been deemed as a pandemic, a state of emergency for a lot of governors in this country. Gun violence, the modern day gun violence. What it is one group of people don't look at the gun violence because it's not happening to them. So you have a big protest, or you have a big protesting on the right to bear arms. You're looking at the right to bear arms. What are you using the arms for? Are you using the arms to protect yourself? Are you using it for hobbies? Are you using it for self-defense? Whatever the case may be. You have a lot. I remember a few years ago when the NRA was fighting against those who was trying to ban.
I remember that too. Yeah,
and they were trying to make it stricter gun laws, which makes more sense because not everybody needs to have a gun.
Right.
So now what you're seeing is a surge of gun violence in this country that's astronomical. It's like I used to always hear about Chicago, Illinois being the main place for a lot of gun violence in this country. You hear about it all the time because it was mass shootings like every other weekend over the last 10 to 12 years. Now you're hearing it in other places as well. And unfortunately, the majority of it's happening in the Black communities, in the urban communities, because we're the ones who using the guns in a negative state. But the problem is where it's backfiring is that we're taking it out on other people as well. And now you're starting to see more mass shootings amongst the other people as well, among the oppressed people or the oppressors. And that's becoming a problem because now it's going to be deemed as, okay, we have to do something about this because it's not just us, it's you too.
Right. Because the matter of the chickens coming home to roost is the matter of the fact that the gun has turned on them.
Right.
You know what I mean? The barrel of the gun has literally turned right back to them. And that's one of the biggest examples of the chickens coming home to roost is gun violence, because these people live and die by the gun. They live and die by wars. They live and die by the manufacturing of guns and wars. That's what they do. This country is a warmongering country. This is one of the biggest warmongering countries there is. Not a lot of countries are the same when it comes down to what America is when it comes down to wars. That's the reason why America remains one of the dumbest. All
right, dumbest.
One of the dumbest countries.
That sounds pretty accurate.
One of the dumbest countries out there, but yet still in power. How so? It's the might of the gun. And then
you always say this. You always say we're not making the guns. It's not us. We're not manufacturing. So how are the guns getting to us?
Right.
And what are they being used for?
And then when you say roosting chickens, they came back home and said, hey massa, how you feeling? You know? So let's get another example. What you got? One? I got one.
Give me one.
Big one. This is a big one for me. It hurts real hard because it's affected my life. I know it's affected your life. The drug war, right? The drug war leading into what? What the drug war led into? How is the because remember when we're talking about what happened, what they put out there, the hate they put towards us was put the drugs in our communities, correct?
Absolutely.
That's the hate they put towards us, y'all. They poured the drugs into our community, had that be one of our main resources of income when it came down to just surviving in the hood. And the backfiring is the opioid crisis.
That's right.
It's a crisis. It's a crisis now. How is it a crisis now when it wasn't a crisis when it was my people that was suffering from the crack epidemic?
And heroin as well.
And heroin.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the gun violence that we was talking about.
Right. it doesn't seem like a big issue when it's not the oppressors that are dealing with it. Like,
but and then it became the oppressors that had to deal with it, right? Right. When you look at it, once it became important is when the chickens came home to roost. Because guess what? Guess who turned those people out? We did. We were sitting there telling them, listen, come on in, come hang with us. And they was oppressed as well. They depressed as well because they wasn't getting none of that 1% money. You understand what I'm saying? They sitting there with us. You know what I mean? And yes, indeed, Tiff. The legit pharmaceutical companies was behind it because they was dumping it into the streets.
That's
right.
You know
what I mean? Because they was telling them, okay, to get off heroin, I'm gonna give you methadone.
That's right. That's right. And then here's another thing behind it as well. So you give them the methadone in order for them to kind of, I guess, keep themselves sane or keep themselves balanced. But during this pandemic, there were a lot of meth and clinics that just closed because they couldn't support anymore. So then we seen another pandemic, if you will, among homelessness and just mental health. That could be considered a health crisis too.
And another one of those chickens coming home to roost example.
We've talked about this before. I need to see what this country is going to do in regards to mental health. How are they going to recover from it? Because we know that they haven't, especially in these big cities, because there's so many people who've failed and faltered because of it. Like they've lost their job, they've lost their livelihood. And I'm not going to say that they're crazy because they're not, but they're mentally broken. And a lot of them turn to the drugs. A lot of them turn to the violence. These are the things that they turn to make themselves feel some type of way. And people haven't recovered from it yet. So, so that they're going to take it out on the people who they feel are responsible for them being that way. That's a form of roosting,
Yeah. I love this topic. Listen, producer, chalk this one up as one of those things we do on some type of regular basis, because we could get plenty of examples of roosting chickens. I think we could do this as a segment at some point in time and keep it going, because I love this one right here. You know what I mean?
Well, Tiff, we definitely know about the pharmaceuticals and what they do. I mean, you go back to, you mentioned Dr. Sebil earlier in our show, and we look what happened with him. With the whole him being able to cure cancer and AIDS, and look how the big pharmaceuticals went after him.
They got rid of him. If you ask people, they got rid of that man. Absolutely,
because the fact that he was able to prove it. Like, if you get rid of big farm, that's a big part of the American industry that you're getting rid of. If you're able to cure AIDS and cancer, seriously. And the fact that he was able to prove it, they had to legitimately take him to court and sue him for that and for everything he had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a prime example of, bucking the system, if you will.
And bro, I'm telling you, man. And what's crazy about the opioid crisis is I actually want them to get help. You know what I mean? I don't want them to suffer. Like, to be honest with you, I don't want other oppressed people to suffer just because the rate because of the racism, even if they're racist. Listen, there's people that's my color that don't like me.
Right.
Black. Think about that. There's people of my own color that don't like me, that has the dislike of who I am. So I don't even want harm or hurt to come to them. You know what I'm saying?
When you look at these crises and you look at these things that are happening, it's almost like it's being tested, thrown into neighborhoods, thrown into places to see who will survive. The strongest will survive. And most of the time, we're more stronger than the opposite, the oppression, and it's a form of.
But because that's thrown at us with the opioid crisis is something that they made up. They messed that up. They that's something that they went and got and did. You know what I'm saying? Like, they was making it. They was sitting there. Yeah.
Right. Crack was an epidemic. Opioid was a crisis. Exactly. Who did crack will affect more of? People of our color, people of us, our ancestors, our descendants. Like, who is opioids affecting? Not us. Them.
them. And the crisis is a big difference in wording. She's right. The crisis is a very big difference in wording. Let me two. I'm gonna give you the next two real quick, right? I came up with these because it just gives you an example of the old guard doing too much and then they get caught up, right? So you got Jeffrey Epstein, right? Who's Jeffrey Epstein, Joe? Give him a little.
Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire, if you will, that fed the desires to the needy of those who were famous. He had a private island where he hosted young girls, underage girls, and just fed them to the wolves, if you will. A lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of people in politics, a lot of people who have money went to these islands and saw their fantasies fulfilled.
And some of your favorite names was on that list, so-called.
Absolutely. So there, like if that list had gotten out, or if somebody had been come to testify, a lot of our Hollywood and our famed and our elitist, if you will, would have been publicly humiliated and destroyed.
Right. And the Harvey Weinstein guy,
another one. I call him the Jewish Bill Cosby.
Right.
What I mean by that is he's pretty much dealing with the same things that Cosby dealt with. People going in and multiple women coming out and saying that he assaulted them or he did something indecent. So what happened is he was just recently extradited back to California to start the process for it. But it's funny how 2-3 years ago this happened and he didn't serve one lick of jail time yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's been free this whole time under house arrest.
Right. That's what people don't understand. People don't understand that.
He never went to jail.
Bill Cosby did time already. But as we can see, they didn't have, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm pretty sure that's probably the reason why Harvey Weinstein is under house arrest. But what I tied both of those into, and even what we spoke on Bill Cosby, I mean, Bill Cosby was caught up in something that caused this whole, what we called today, the Me Too movement. That is the symbolism of the chicken coming home to roost. This is the roosting. The roosting is at one time in life, you can be a misogynist asshole.
Right.
At one time in life, you can disrespect women and treat them lowly, and it won't be a problem. Once a time in life, you can persuade them to do favors for you just so they could get ahead in life, and it wouldn't be no problem. You understand what I'm saying? Because that was the status quo. That's what how big money in Hollywood and all of these people dealt. But the chicken coming home to roost is these situations stemming to the Me Too movement. You know what I mean? And which got these people getting arrested and locked up and changed the whole dynamic into even how people have to deal in social settings anymore, right?
Absolutely. And that's what it is. Now it's affecting the oppressor. And now the oppressors are having problems with it. Like there are a lot of what you would call average white men who are pissed. They are mad. They feel that their rights are being violated. They feel like
a lot of people has been sued. I mean, a lot of people's job. These are only two names. You know what I mean? These are only two names. You understand what I'm saying?
So many people.
There's so many people that's been caught in scandals such as this in the past. I would say 3 to 4, 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. And now you had I saw Joe Rogan on NBC. He made this statement about single white men being the oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
He feels that they're being oppressed because of this, because they're not able to act in the way of how they acted before. He said they're afraid to say anything anymore because if they act the way that they used to act, they'll be canceled.
And then that goes into our next point is even our last president, Donald Trump, who also was one that was accused of many misappropriations with women. You know what I mean? He was accused of dealing not so great with women. And grabbing bottle, putting in all that stuff. He was a proponent for these things, and that ties into our next point, right? Well, Joe, what's our next point here?
Well, we're going to talk about the last election, the 2020 election, when you change the rules to benefit you, but it doesn't benefit you.
Right.
The rules were changed so that it would benefit Trump. However, it backfired. and benefited Biden. That's an
Right.
example of the chickens coming home to roost.
Mm-hmm.
You call that if that's not the example of an oppression of system being backfired, I don't know what is.
Right.
But,
and I think it happened twice. If you ask me, I think the first Trump election, him being president in itself, is actually the chicken coming home to roost in a sense, because there's no way they wanted that to be the case. Trust me, there's no way. I'm not convinced that they wanted Donald J. Trump to be the next president of the United States. They knew they just didn't have a snowball's chance in HE double hockey stick, as they would say, hell, in beating that woman if they didn't just pull off some old outlandish left wing, right, swing or whatever, because what they played into is the race card. That's what they played into. And they knew they would get that divide with Donald Trump because he was going to breathe that Hitler mentality into the people. And guess what? It worked, right? It worked. But guess what? The reason why that's the roosting chicken is because they would never want that to have happened, because democracy was actually working for a change.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they used to control the narrative all these years. Now, all of a sudden, we starting to, we want this person. No, we don't want that person. You know what I mean? Because they had to give us a black man at one point. Just think about it. Chickens coming home to roost.
What was also interesting about it is I remember hearing this quote in regards to the campaign. Just because you get all the votes don't mean you're going to win.
Right.
So we could say that happened in Hillary's case, right? She got all the votes, but she didn't win. So 4 years later, you come around the thing, and Biden, the votes are almost very similar. Like, even though more people voted to get it, I get it, but it goes to show you how many people didn't vote for Hillary as opposed to voting for Trump.
Right.
He got more votes this time around than Hillary did last time.
Right.
That's scary to know that many people did not vote in the last 4 years.
And he's the ultimate wild card when it comes down to chickens coming home to roost, because guess what? This man wants to be the next Hitler.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So why would that's not good for nobody. I don't care what color you are. That is not good. One man dictator. No, it's not. That's So they created a monster in him. You understand what I'm saying? If you ask me, but let's go. But let's move on from these nasty boys. Like, it's just ugly, because I want to speak to something that actually was so painful that it brought out diamonds. You know what I'm saying? The pressure. This is one of them situations where the pressure brought out diamonds, brother. You know what I mean? What you think, man? What you think? This last point of the chickens coming home to roost.
I think it shows what can be done. I think it shows what can be done when the system oppression backfires. I mean, you have negative causes or you have negative challenges, and you use them to your advantage. But over time, everything that's bad is going to become good. And in this case,
right, go ahead. I'm listening.
In this case, the challenges became good. Slavery.
Go ahead. Let's talk about
it. Yes, let's talk about it. Slavery, we understand that it was eventually meant for us to be down. It was meant for us to be in a sense of oppression.
Right.
And we did for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
For hundreds of years, we were oppressed. We deemed as the worst form of human life in this world.
Right.
So us going through that over the course of time, changing. I mean, I'm going to sit here and say that we're 100% on the opposite end yet, because we're not.
Not at all.
But to see what was able to come from it, to see where we are. Yes, there's still a long way to go. Long way to go. But the tide is turning. From, like you said, from the coal, the pressure became a diamond.
Right.
So we're, like I said, we're as slowly but surely we're squeezing that coal, and it's breaking, and the diamond is starting to show and reveal. We still got a few hundred more years before we get there.
It's hard.
But we're seeing the transgression of what chicken comes home to roost mean in that sense.
Right, because slavery was what they did to us. That's the hate they showed us. That's the ultimate test in perseverance. That's the ultimate test in our fortitude as people. You know what I mean? I don't care where you were in the islands, if you was here in the home in American soil, wherever you was oppressed at as a black man at any point in the past, got us strong enough to be here today. Like I said, now look at us. You know what I mean? They didn't see this in their wildest dreams. That's why I said this is we are examples of the chicken coming home to roost, all in one. We are that example. The Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's, all of these people that they built us. They made us become the people that we are. They made us become plugged with Molly and Joe because of all of the things that we're tired of today.
That's
right.
Know
what I mean, Joe? You feel
Absolutely. me? What I did want to do, though, is I wanted to aware people and let them know what's happening. Keep a look at what's happening in Congress and politics and law. Look at these things.
Right.
We caused so much of an uproar over the last 4 years that everything is being changed to go against us.
They're trying to change all the rules.
They're trying to change the rules so that it doesn't benefit us anymore.
Right.
So people need to pay attention to that. But eventually what will happen is the chickens will come home to roost again. But in order to stop the chickens from roosting, we need to pay attention to what's going on and say, no, even if you do have the upper advantage, if you do have the loopholes, we're not going to let y'all get away with this. We still going to come out strong. We still going to be done.
Yeah. We just got to put in a little more energy. We just got to put in a little more time, you know what I'm saying, into going to vote or to going to make the changes that's necessary, because they're going to do it. Like you said, it's inevitable. They're doing it now. In Texas, they're doing it right now. You understand what I'm saying? They're changing all of the voting laws down there. No?
Changing all the voting laws. They're penalizing and arresting Texas Democrats because they don't want to vote against the laws, because they're trying to procrastinate as long as possible or elongate it. And the governor is like, well, you're going to be arrested if you don't show up and put these votes in.
Right.
So
they left to go to Washington, right? No?
Yes, they left to go to Washington because they didn't want to be in the vicinity of the voting, or they have to prolong it as long as possible. This happened last week. Just last week, we're dealing with this. Why do you think they would try to change the voting laws in the first place?
Because they're scared. Listen, if they don't have control of their system, then what do they have control of?
Exactly. There's no system to control.
There's no system to control, brother. And that's why we have to continue to be plugged with Molly and Joe. We have to continue to be the Evening Rush Network and the Evening Rush Radio podcast. We have to continue to be Queens of New York City podcast. We got to continue to be the voices out here making changes in these people's lives, bro. We got to keep the foot on their throat to make them nervous, because that's what all of those moves is, nervous moves. If you're in the street, that's nervous moves when you're making extra rules to make sure this person don't rock.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that's what it is, because you're afraid that people are going to come forth and take your shine away or make you feel like you're irrelevant, because that's what it is.
Right.
Like we know a change of the guard is going to happen. We know that it's bound to happen. Right. And what's happening is you have people who are just going to elongate that not happening. So it's like they can't believe it. And that's what these rules being changed and all these things happening. Even with, critical race theory, which we talked about before, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you're changing. Well, I didn't want to bring this up because we talked about this already, but I did want to talk about the critical race theory. What I saw recently,
keep bringing that up,
where you have the Texas school system pretty much banning people from saying that the Ku Klux Klan were negative, were morally wrong. This happened this week. I saw this and I was sitting there going,
But why we can't have an opinion on that, though? Like, why I can't look at all of the lynching, all of the criminal activities that you committed to my people for years and years and years, and say, you know what, y'all are bad people. Why I can't see that for myself?
It's not an opinion because it's fact. It happened. It's reality. There's no perception behind any of this. This stuff happened, and there's proof of it. The point is that they don't want it to be taught. They don't want to be looked at as the bad people anymore. It happened already. There's no way you can go around it. So they rather just say, hey, we're going to get rid of it, and eventually it won't come up anymore. So what's going to happen is it's going to be illegal to talk about. You can't talk about that no more. It's sacred. It's forbidden.
Well, I look at that as desperation because I look at a lot of the moves. You know what I mean? Right. Yeah. So if they stop talking about it, it will disappear, eventually become questionable. Right. You're right. Because the same way, if you keep speaking on it, it's going to become things that people, common knowledge. The Ku Klux Klan killed black people. Slavery was bad for black people, and the drumbeat of that allows for a lot of other people to wake up to the fact that, wait a minute, we're not great people. We owe these people something, and they're not ready to do that. And like I said, chicken coming home to roost, because slavery, now look at us, because the times that they keep exposing the beat downs and the beat downs and the beat downs and whippings and the whippings and the whippings and the police brutality and the police killings and the lopsided of opportunities in the workforce, and all of these different things, man. And yeah, bro, it's inevitable. You understand what I'm saying? It's inevitable for us to topple this, but they're gonna fight it. They're gonna fight it, bro.
Listen, we just got to keep being that word. We just got to keep being that voice, and hope that more people wake up, and not even woke, but wake up, understand what's happening. Because it's a matter of understanding what's happening, because you can know what's going on and not care about it, but something is going to click and say, hey, this is not right. We need to do something about this, or we need to keep letting people know that it's wrong to want to do this, or that it's wrong to want these things to go away. Because when I heard that, it just did something to me. It said they are really trying to make themselves look good, or what's going to happen, maybe not in their time, but if you don't, like you said, if you don't talk about it, it becomes a question mark. Did it really happen? We heard rumors about it, and it really happened. And it's, and it's been gone for so long. There's nothing to prove. You got to go back and deep again and think about it and research it and make sure again.
Yeah, people unfortunately do wait until something bad happens to them to personally decide to become change makers, and that happened to me. I know it definitely happened to me. I know it definitely happened to Joe. I know it definitely happened to most of the people that is out here change makers. And I guess it goes in the name of being change makers, is that you was hit with something that had to make you shift up. You know what I'm saying? You was hit with something that had to make you change up and do something different. You know what I mean? You wouldn't know that you have to be that if you didn't get caught up with something to show you that. You know what I mean? So yes, we wait. Unfortunately we have to wait, but guess what? I think most change makers, most people that's here doing the work, doing the work in the community, had to experience some things to make you understand why we have to do this work. Right, Joe?
I totally agree with what you're saying, and what my hope is that when that change does happen to people, or when something happens to them, I hope it's not the end all be all, because a lot of people can't recover from that blow. They can't recover from that reality check.
Right. You're right. Yeah. That is the catch-22 there, bro.
They can't recover.
You say something bad for some people is the end. You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're right. And empathy can motivate people as well. Yes, I mean, and that's what we're doing here at Plug with Joe. We empathize with our people. We try to talk to our people. Sometimes it's sad topics. Sometimes it do get to me. Like even tonight's topic gets to me. You know what I mean? So I you can hear it in my voice somewhat, because it's like you can see where we've come so far, but then the reality is, golly, they're gonna try hard to keep us down still, right, bro?
Yes, there's like I said, there's way more work to be done. Like I'm happy that progress is being done, and I'm happy that the word is getting out. I'm happy that people are speaking on it, but it's more. We need more. And there's enough of us to do it.
And we're going to get it done, because when we come back, we're going to make sure that we do everything in our power to be spread out throughout this nation, throughout this country, throughout the world. We're going to get out there, Joe. We're going to get out there, man. And remember, we sponsored by Baller. We on Instagram. That's plugged. MJ. I'm Molly the Voice. That's Words by Joe. We on all the platforms. We on is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor.fm, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Mixcloud, Google Podcasts, iTunes Podcasts, the eveningrush.network.com, Deja Vu TV. You could have called us in at 929-441-2417. We're going to get some people to start calling us in. Watch this. I know it's going to be hectic soon. Watch. We're going to have a whole segment for it. Watch. Have you on hold and wait for you and all that. Watch, because y'all took too long to start calling. But my shout out to my brother for giving me that tip on that because you never know who tuned in late. So if you tuned in late, then you need to know them platforms that we on too. So shout out to all those platforms that allowed us to be on their airwaves and on their televisions. Shout out to the Evening Rush Network. Shout out to you, Joe.
Shout out to you, Molly.
And that's Plugged with Molly and Joe. Mental Warriors. Peace.